Welcome to the Lockbox, Lockbox!
Welcome to the Lockbox, Hello again, guys. My name's Flame Fury, and today I'm joined by Anher.
Hello.
Tesseract.
Yo.
And Farmer Bob.
Howdy.
Hello again, guys. Nice to see you. Nice to get us all together in the same room, so to speak.
It's great to be back.
Because you guys have been away, haven't you, Farmer Bob and Tess?
Yeah. Got back from Vegas a few days ago.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back and on TeamSpeak.
Did you miss us?
Yeah, you were missed.
Oh.
I generally only miss you when I'm throwing bricks at you, but
Because you're not got a very good game.
Right, so what are we going to speak about today? I believe Rob wants to lead in with something.
So Game Update 40, which is now on PC test, brings a number of updates. First one of which is Rare Style Vendor. Brand new styles on there. We have done videos on all of this, just to bear in mind. They will continue to cost 70 marks of Fury. Some people are unhappy with that, but they're supposed to be hard to get.
Yeah, the Sharpshooter back's going to be in that as well, isn't it? Or the Sharpshooter set.
Yes.
And then there was the Weapon Mastery style selection. This is something that people had talked about before. So when you combo into another weapon, so from hand blasters to bow, you can choose what your hand blasters look like, and you can choose what the bow looks like.
Sweet.
It's going to be a nice little cosmetic change.
Yep. Prestige messaging improvements. You can access a prestige report from the control panel on a personal basis to see how much is being generated for the league from your base. It's not a huge useful tool, I think. Most people are getting the prestige cap just by doing content anyway or donating some items. And then the probably next and most important one is the mainframe boost. So you can take it up to the next level. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot of marks of triumph, but it's not like we use them for anything else anyway, really. Again, we've done a video on this, but you're looking at 15,625 marks of triumph to reach that next tier.
That's going to affect like orbital strike and supply drop and stuff, isn't it?
Yep, and your sidekicks and henchmen.
Heard someone talking about it the other day. Apparently, the orbital strike's going to be in for about 15k.
Yep.
Which should be nice, because it's about 5k at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, and there's some controversial points surrounding it, which we can go into a bit later. We've got a couple of threads to talk about, one of which being max damage. But the increase here tells, we spoke to Jens before, and he says, they do pre-plan stuff. So a lot of people are complaining about the enemy health in Halls of Power. Well, they've now just released something, they're going to release something, which is going to boost your orbitals, your supplies, your sidekicks, increase your damage across the board in order to work with those increases in enemy health. So I think it might have been a bit premature for people to worry too much about it.
I think maybe they know to anticipate people's arguments and complaints now, so there's probably a lot in the pipeline that you might not see straight away, but they must have known that people were going to cry about not having enough damage or whatever, or not being able to get through stuff. Need more power, need more damage.
Yeah, they've given it to you. I mean, everything's working to combat the high health. Yeah, and so the last one is gadgets power revisions. Now this is really extensive. You can't discuss it in our Lockbox really. We'll do additional discussions on this and reviews and such. But if you're interested in gadgets, get on the test server if possible. We do again have a video on this. Well worth a watch.
This is the addition of the advanced mechanic, not the awesome mechanic. That's the wrong phrase apparently. It's got some really cool animations in it, which is about the most I can really comment on it, given that I've not really tested it. But the battle modes animation is really super cool.
It's more damage centric though than for the controller role, isn't it?
Well, all of the advanced mechanics are supposed to be for damage rather than the roll.
Yep, and that's pretty much it for Game Update 40.
Cool. Well, I'd like to lead into some stuff from the keynote speech that was given at SoE Live a couple of weeks ago. We've already got a video up on the channel, haven't we? Going over all this, so you can refer to that as well. But Going over the main points, the major updates and features were mentioned, which was basically going over all of the main changes from the past year, I suppose, the PS4 launch, feat unlocking weapon mastery, that type of thing. There's a DLC recap, survival modes was mentioned in there, combat rating and rewards marks, the DLC structure and progress, character additions, which is down as too numerous to list, community, dev discussions, live streams, tournaments, the state of the game, PS4 patching, bug fixes, performance improvements, voice chat improvements, PSN disconnects, link death targeted for game update 41, PS4 entitlement caching, and then coming soon the PvP revamp, arena tuning, stat banding, new gear, splitting DLCs into components, legends content and powers. There's something I'm looking forward to, the new Legends characters, and 8 new characters has been announced, which are Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Green Arrow, Deathstroke, Flash, Shazam, Black Adam and Gorilla Grodd. And they're all for Legends PvE. Oh, the Legends PvE stuff as well, so we're going to see some content where you're going to be able to play those Legends characters in PvE content. Don't know how that's going to work yet though specifically. The trilogies, War of the Light Part 2, Amazon Fury Part 2, Halls of Power Part 2, future trilogy will be Superman related, so that's something to look forward to. Everybody loves a bit of Superman. Movement mode variant, which is going to be called Skimming, and it's based on flight, but it's not specifically a new movement mode, is it?
It's like a reskin.
Yeah, it's going to be something that you can buy. Is it buy on the marketplace? A vanity feature only?
I think you actually have to respec into it to get skimming, but it'll use the same races and everything that flight uses, so you won't have to redo for feats.
So is it going to be something like, I know we spoke about it before, the hover discs that
Yes,
Miracle uses?
that was actually the image of the character that they used when they started talking about skimming.
Okay.
It's to note though, it's going to be 2 independent hover platforms on each foot, and not you standing on one like, you know, the Silver Surfer, you know, Static Shock or whatever would be running around on one hover pad. It will be 2 different ones on different feet for animation reasons, basically.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Powers were also mentioned, new power sets that are coming up. We've got munitions, which is a controller and damage power set, atomic, a healer power set, and experimental serums, which is a tank power set, and more on that later. We could mention that. Been a bit of controversy on the forums. The UI revamp about performance, usability, flow and layout. Future wish list, sidekick customization, armory updates, PvP leaderboards, scoreboard revamp, league content, movement mode appearances, multi-mode arena types, and base PvE. There's also a new director of development announced, Josh Hackney, aka Pez Fedora.
That's replacing Dead Meat.
What's happened to Dead Meat then? Do we know?
He went off to a new job in New York, apparently.
Oh. We don't know what job it was.
No.
Not selling burgers, something like that. I guess it's something highbrow.
This will be how many director of developments now for them?
I think they've had Dead Meat since the beginning, but I could be wrong.
No,
I forget who
this is the third one. Oh, I can't remember the name of the first guy. Then Dead Meat came in.
Chris Cow used to be doing something with the game, but I don't know what his job was, and he got ditched at or just before launch. But we've had Dead Meat for a long time. He used to be one of the best forum trolls there was.
Yeah.
Used to go out randomly liking people's threads, and so they'd take it as a sign.
Yeah. You're my best friend now. Oh, I mean, with the devs.
But we had a chance to speak to Josh Hackney, Pez Fedora. He seems pretty cool too, so
I've heard the name Pez Fedora before somewhere.
He's been posting on the forums a couple of times, I think, but I don't think there was ever an announcement as to who he was, so it just looked like another green name.
One thing I want to ask. Sorry, Flem, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I'm guessing he's moved up from within the game somewhere.
He used to be on PlanetSide too.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. It's like all under the same banner of SoE.
I mean, what I wanted to ask, when he came onto stage, he said he's played DCUO, but do you get the impression he knew what he was talking about? He'd been hands-on with the game before?
I mean, this apparently isn't a new development. I think it's just after SoE Live last year that Dead Meat left. So he's actually been with the game for a little while. It's not a brand new development. So I would expect him to know at least a little bit now anyway, even if he didn't really play the game before. You know, he's been working on it for the past maybe year or so.
Yeah, I feel like he's been posting on the forums as director of development for multiple months now. I don't know if there was a specific announcement made, but he's been around for a while. He's definitely been around long enough to get a feel for the UI and what he wants to do with it.
Get rid of it, basically.
I'm guessing that they'd have to be working in the background and familiarise themselves with the game before they can take that post. Surely he has to have some inside knowledge of the game.
I wouldn't have thought so.
You never know these days, but I mean, you can direct something without having to actually have that intimate of a knowledge with it. Not that he doesn't, or does, but you know, there are means and ways to get into a position without knowing full well what it is.
You're making this sound rather sexual, Rob, I must say.
Well, that's the intention.
Just going on to the last point, the keynote speech, the questions and answers. You might be able to fill out a few of the gaps here. I'll just go over the main points. Base layouts, reshuffle for PvE content. So there was personality traits in armories. UI revamp. Will there be further information pertaining to allies, i.e. debuffs, new body types, hairstyles and so on. Second supercharge for acrobatics to match other movement modes. Legends PvE. Will the characters have set roles? Progress on plans for Superman's belated birthday. Cosmetics, specifically faces. Will there be new ones? Black Lanterns. Something that I'd like to know about. Phoenix Wing style. New armory activation animations. Controller alterations for power, and A and D keys to rotate the character rather than strafe. Would you like to fill us in a little bit more on any of those points?
So there was a lot over the course of the weekend. There was a lot of questions about styles or faces or hairstyles or that sort of thing. And what it came down to was it takes a lot of work and it takes up space and memory and things like that. And you know, the PS3 isn't capable of handling a hell of a lot. They have to do a lot of workarounds and they have to free up memory every time they try and add new powers and things. So that stuff is less likely to be the case. So I think new face styles, for instance, at launch there was different body types, I think. Or sorry, in beta there was different body types. And they had to get rid of them because the PS3 couldn't handle it. So
on that point, I mean, I have no idea. I don't know how much resources, how many people is required to do it, how long it would take. But sometimes I wonder about why people are so worried about the face or hairstyles. I mean, people can wear masks or they can wear helmets or they can, you know, sometimes it's obscured. When I'm playing content, I'm never sitting there looking at the face. I'm not too concerned about it. I'd rather they just worry about making some great PvE or PvP based stuff. Do you really think that kind of interest is merited in this game?
I think there's a lot of interest in character customization. I mean, you look at a lot
it's
of
a
other
superhero
MMOs,
game,
and yeah, there's been superhero games in the past. I won't mention them, but you go into play those. I've played these other games, and the character customization is limitless. You can do absolutely anything. You can millions of hairstyles, different face styles, loads of stuff, and DCUO is very limited in comparison to most other MMOs out there.
It draws a lot of people, just the kind of the role-playing aspect of it, you know, with there isn't any other superhero MMO at the moment, I don't think. I think they've all kind of crashed and burned. So we got a lot of people coming over from them just wanting to do their kind of, make their character and roleplay it and things like that. And yeah, the kind of character gen for this, the 3 basic body types, the hairstyles and things, the faces, it's very limited. I think that the style system is the best style system in any game I've ever played, and I think it's absolutely genius for a game that is so heavily based on style and how your character looks. I think it's genius to reward completing content with styles. I think that's great, but I also get that some people want to come in and just make their character look the way they want. So
I mean, it is something that could be really lucrative for the game as well if you had X amount of styles that were available for purchase on the marketplace, which is what they did in these other games as well. You could buy whole sets of styles or individual bits and pieces, and I mean that's something that could be like a massive moneymaker for DCUO if that was.
I get the impression they've done a couple of things. So, right, kind of when the marketplace first launched, they put up a bunch of styles. None of them were very interesting, except maybe the mecha wings, which for a little while every single person in the Watchtower was wearing.
Yeah.
There's the astral skin. A couple of the skins were pretty big.
Yeah, the astral skin was a really good seller. I don't know, the fishnet leggings were much requested.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much they've actually made out of this, because they just don't do it very often. And I imagine if it was making them loads of money, they'd do it more. But I sometimes wonder if it's because the styles they have put up are styles that, well, they don't really look very good. So
Yeah, they're just not that interesting.
it's like the alien threat mask, and the Soar has claimed as his own, and that's his, and like the noble wings and the butterfly wings and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know that many people really want to buy it. And I don't know if it hasn't really made back the money that's required to develop styles.
Maybe they should just bung a load of, or thousands of styles up there and see what's most popular. People will buy them if they want them bad enough, because I think people do like customising their look, and you see so many people running around with the same costume pieces on that you're wearing, and it's really hard to have an individual style in this game.
There's a lot to talk about. Just there's one more thing I wanted to say on that, and I wish I'd have thought of it at the time and asked you guys to ask. Maybe someone had already asked it, but in terms of styles, what is preventing them from allowing player-controlled or player-generated styles? So, for example, we've got our Odyssey logo.
They can't do any player-generated content because everything that goes into the game has to be approved by DC.
Right. So even if it was just a T-shirt our character was wearing, and it had some kind of emblem or logo, you can't be done because it's not.
Everything goes through DC.
Even
and
base
so
items
they could
have nothing to do with it.
There's a player studio thing for the other games, for EverQuest and things like that, where they get, players even end up making loads of money off of this, but that's because they have full control over what goes in the game. They don't have to go to another company in order to get it vetted. The time that it takes to get everything vetted in this game, I think, just means that there's no way you could really do player-generated content.
I'm guessing it's not only like being wary of like existing characters that are in the DC lore, but maybe stuff that you don't know about in the comics that's coming up that you don't know. If they did allow player-generated content, you could make a superhero that appears in the comics later on down the line, and then you've got like a massive trademarking issue or something.
Yeah, and you can make stuff that looks too similar to things that they don't want on, either if it's their own characters that DC has decided they don't want anything done with at the moment. Like a couple of years back, nobody was allowed to use Superboy because there was all kind of legal issues going on with that. Or if you're making content that looks too similar to their competitors or things, there's just so many ways it could be abused. They just can't do it.
Fair enough.
Can I just quickly ask, what did they say about the Black Lanterns then? Because I've wanted these in the game for years.
There was hints that some kind of non-coloured lanterns might be showing up at some point.
Well, I'm guessing with the Roar of the Light DLC, the trilogy, that they would be showing up eventually.
Yeah, I would kind of thought so.
That would be fantastic.
They must show up. I mean, it's called Lantern Universe Online, right? If you can't tell that's sarcasm, I think we've got plenty of lanterns. We don't need more until it comes to a specific point in the DLCs for them to appear.
Speaking of lanterns, the new Legends characters and moving on to the Legends stuff in general, a couple interesting things with the new characters. So we've got Kyle and Guy, both split colour lanterns. So it's going to be Blue Lantern Kyle, but he's going to have some powers that are Green Lanterns, so he's going to be wearing 2 rings. And it's going to be Red Lantern Guy, and he's going to have some green powers as well. So that's going to be quite cool, just from the animation aspect of it.
They've actually done videos now. They've done sneak peeks for both Kyle and Guy. Jens has done some live streams with both characters, and their power sets and everything look really cool. The way the two powers interact.
This is all of the new Legends characters are male characters, and the Legends panel that they did went into interesting detail as to what characters people play over what ones they don't. So there's the fact that Superman is the best-selling Legends character on the marketplace by a huge margin, and of course everybody in the room thought this was hysterical because he's terrible, but everybody buys him. And yeah, Cersei is the worst selling one, despite the fact that, you know, she's got quite a vocal fan base on the forums and is actually quite a good character.
Everybody wants a piece of Superman.
So it tended to be the male heroes were the best selling ones, the ones that people wanted to play, and the female villains were the ones that people didn't want to play. Poor Cheetah. She kept getting ignored.
There are no super speed Legends right now.
There's no Earth.
There's also no Earth power set.
So that was the Legends characters. And Legends PvE, that's going to be more of an event thing. So it's going to come up in the events tab, and it's going to be you're going to have a specific kind of content to run through.
It's going to be very controlled.
You're going to be locked into only one of each character. So you can't have multiple characters of multiple Robins, say. And in order to make it so that, you know, first-time players who haven't unlocked anyone other than Robin or Harley on the villain side, in order to make it so that they can take part, there's going to be a standard rota of characters that you'll be able to choose from to play for free. And that's obviously going to be a sort of a try before you buy type thing as well.
Sorry,
and you're also...
what you're saying is that it does the Legends PvE ties into what you've unlocked for PvP as well.
Yes, but if you haven't unlocked anything, there will still be a selection of characters that you can use, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to take part, basically.
Okay, makes sense. And you said that it ties in as an event. Now, historically, events are short-lived experiences, so they'll put them on and then they'll take them down. Yeah. Is that what the sense you got from them, that it's going to be a limited time experience?
that's the point of it. It's going to be up for about a month maybe, and they're really trying to flesh out the events tab in general. So they're going to have survival modes up, they're going to have seasonals up, and they're going to have Legends PvE up, and they're going to try and make sure that there's always something in the events tab.
Was there any justification for why they'd make this sort of content limited time only?
There's so much control that has to go into this. So I think the instance that they're trying to start with is League of Assassins, the alert. And so they need to make sure that only characters that would make sense being in there are in there. So if they ever did like a Batcave, they wouldn't want characters to be used by the players that are in the instance, because it wouldn't make sense that there'd be a duplicate.
So yeah, you wouldn't want Robin or Nightwing or Huntress from the end of it. You couldn't have them as the Legends characters to be playable. So they have to lock out those characters from selection. They also have to rescale all of the content in it so that it works without roles, because, you know, no Legends characters have roles. So you can't have tanks in it, tanking the boss. So you have to adjust all of the damage values so that that's going to be the case. You can't, you know, there's going to be no healers as well. So there's going to be a lot of work going into these things.
But then surely all that work is a justifiable reason for them leaving it up full time. Why put the experience and knowledge and whatever else into it and time, only to have it for a limited amount of time?
I think in part it is because they just want to flesh out the events tab. And as well, the rewards for this are going to be much more in line with seasonals than with actual content. There's going to be feats as a reward for doing it. They're talking about introducing titles into the game, so there might be titles as a reward for it as well. But it's just going to be, I mean, you might get Marks of Legend for it, but it's not going to give you PvE rewards. It's not going to be progression level content. It's just going to be a fun extra thing that you can do that people have been asking to do, but it's not a huge focus for the game.
I think this would be quite a good addition to the game, actually, as like a practicing ground for these characters as well. If you're doing a whole raid, for example, or an alert using the same characters as you would in Legends PvP, it's going to give you a chance to try out these different characters and get to know their mechanics and powers and stuff. And
it's also PvE content that we cannot outgear. So this is something that if you're looking for a challenge, you can go back to, because you're always going to play this at the tier they designed it to be at, and not at whatever gear you're currently wearing.
So there's going to be no smashing through it. It's going to be a long, slow, steady run.
Slow and steady, yes.
So the other part of the Q&A, I guess, which was a big thing that was talked about a lot over the weekend, was the UI revamp. And that was, I remember speaking with Pez Fedora about it, and one of the things that the first thing when he came into the game was just looking at the UI and thinking, you know, there's so much can be done with this. So there was things like, I mean, they were saying that they are going to have the threads up asking us basically, what do we want from it? But even really simple stuff like buff signaling, you know, being able to see on your allies what buffs they have, what debuffs they have. Not having that ridiculous on bosses where if it's buffed and you hit it with a debuff, suddenly there'll be no buff displaying and you won't realise that he's both buffed and debuffed at the same time. So that's, you know, a big thing that they're looking at.
My understanding is they've already done quite a bit of work in this area. They have a bunch of wireframes already drawn up to kind of plan out what they want to do, and has seemed to insinuate we're actually going to be able to see these wireframes. They'll post them in the forums and we'll be able to comment. Actually being able to see the visual that they plan to put up and tweak it from there.
They're trying to get rid of a lot of wasted space because the current UI has a lot of that. A lot of bulky menus. I'd like to think they're going to try and make it so that it can scale properly, because at the moment it doesn't scale at all. And things like, again, going back to Legends, they're going to stack all of the Legends of all the different skins for one character. So at the moment we've obviously got 6 different Batman skins: the classic Batman, the Batman 4 from the Celebration, and the future Batman. So we'll eventually have, the 6 different skins for Batman, and at the moment they take up 6 different slots. But in future it'll just be 1 slot for Batman, and then you'll pick which skin you want to use. And they're going to be doing reskins for... Well, I mean, they've obviously got... Joker's the only one that's got a different power in his reskin. So I don't know if he's going to be part of the same thing, or if the Arkham Joker will be considered different from normal Joker. But it's just going to make it that much easier. They also joked about making sure that they get rid of that bug where if you're in the middle of picking a character and somebody else picks one, you have to go back in. So they're clearly aware of that and working on it. I'm not just queuing for Legends, not just picking your Legends, but they said, addressing how everything is done with the UI, how you queue up for normal alerts or just use the on duty in general. Basically completely revamping what the UI does.
Well, it sounds like there's a hell of a lot going on behind the scenes, and this is all looking really good for the future of the game. Definitely, I'm excited about a lot of this stuff that's been mentioned. But, shall we leave that there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Tess and Bob, as I said earlier, you've just recently returned from SoE Live.
Yeah.
Would you like to regale us with some of the stories of your experiences of while you was out there?
Just to ask, it was the first time for both of you, right?
To
Yes.
Vegas, yes.
You're talking about SoE Live, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, it was my first time over in America, so that was interesting.
Had you guys pre-planned to meet up when you were turning up, or was it just whenever you get there, give us a call and we'll arrange to meet at the event? Or
I think, Bob, did you turn up on the Thursday?
Yeah, we tried to figure out who was showing up on what days, just so if people were there, they could get together. I know Tess flew in on Wednesday, and Zaus was there for Community Council, and Chris was there. I think most of us got in sometime Thursday.
Was it as much fun as trying to get a raid group together when there's not many people online?
It wasn't that bad, but was it? I think the day before I actually got on the plane, me and Zaus realised that we were flying in within about 15 minutes of each other. So it was a quick exchange of phone numbers, because some of us have got each other's phone numbers, but it's not really been necessary for a lot of us. So sent him a quick text when I landed, and we met up at the airport and managed to get transport back to into Planet Hollywood together. And then we were able to hang out that first day, and then the second day it was tracking down everybody. So we had Bob was arriving, we had Mutton arriving, Felsa arriving, just kind of making sure to get everybody, get contact details, and just kind of find each other when we were there.
Were you wearing your Odyssey t-shirts during travel, or did you save those for the actual?
No, save
SoE
those
Live?
For later.
Okay, because
it
would have been
handy.
Interesting. Like you were wearing them, and if anyone else attending the event would have recognised that you played DCUO, and then perhaps got a larger group together, kind of thing.
Well, a lot of them actually had been there before, so as soon as you started talking to some of them, you ended up meeting the others. So I think when me and Zaus first arrived, we checked into the hotel, and then he glanced over and seemed to spot people that he knew. So we went over, and it turned out it was JR and Ticken from Legion Legends. Ticken also on the community council. And then we're standing talking to them, and we bumped into, I think Daddio and Kurspringer were also kind of queuing up to check in at the same time. And then after that, we went up to check into the rooms and stuff. We came back down, and we bumped into people like Soar and Tharkus, and they were kind of hanging out. And so by that point, I mean, I didn't recognise any of these people by face, but suddenly, I've got an idea of who all these DC players are.
What was it like meeting people for the first time in person, though? I know
it was pretty cool. It was there was an interesting distinction between meeting the people that I know and talk to regularly. So obviously that's mostly our league guys. And then there was meeting the people that that I know of, but I haven't really spoken to much. So as I say, people like Soar, who I've heard of on the forums and seen posting and things, but we've never really raided together or anything like that. And Tharkus as well. Radium, who's a PlayStation player. It was really cool to meet these guys and kind of get to know them a bit. Whereas with the guys from the league, it was much more people that we speak to anyway, and we have no issues holding conversations with. And it was just kind of seeing them face to face and trying to kind of readjust your kind of mental image, because when you speak to people, you do form this image of who they are, and then you see them face to face and realise that it was completely wrong.
Were you aware of any rivalries out there, between you could see that maybe these people don't get on the forums or in game, and that carried over? I'm not speaking about the Odyssey peeps, but was you aware of it with anybody else, that people were maybe not happy with each other?
I don't think anybody that turned up. Everybody seemed to be
anything.
Yeah, everybody seemed to be really happy, just hanging out and chatting, speaking to different DC people and stuff.
I think it was kind of a separation too. No matter what we say on the forums, now you're meeting these people in person. It's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, you don't know whether they're going to punch you or not.
Yeah. maybe that was just around me, because a couple people have told folks since we've gotten back, they're like, that Bob chick, I thought she was just gonna hit me the entire time. What?
Well, you are quite violent, Bob.
How would you know?
I can just tell by your voice.
You could have tried smiling maybe sometimes, that might have helped.
My face just looks like this. It just looks like this. I can't help it.
So with regards to the experience, I know I spoke to you both about this before, you didn't really get to check out much of the script in Vegas. You was mostly full on DCUO mode for the whole time.
Yeah, we had a bit of time at night after the panels and stuff where we'd go out and get food, but we didn't really get to do a whole lot of sightseeing. It takes quite a bit of time to get anywhere in Vegas, so
yeah, I'd say there is actually loads of time to do the gambling stuff, because we had guys that did go and do that. They tended to do it late at night, and they got in at 3 a.m. But again, that's Vegas. That's kind of what you do. So there is time to do the Vegas thing while you're there. I think part of it was just that the people that we were with, we're just not that into it. We'd much rather be hanging out with these people that we don't get a chance to see at all ever, basically. We'd much rather be hanging out and actually chatting to them and stuff than sitting in a noisy bar playing gambling. So it just seemed like, as much as it almost seems like a waste to go to Vegas and not gamble, it seemed like a waste to go to Vegas and spend your time doing that.
But in a way it's good, because you could have like put it all on red or black and come back with nothing.
Yeah. So most people, I think, do at least a little bit of gambling when they're there.
We seem to have people that were much more interested in kind of seeing what was out there. I know New York has a ride, and the Stratosphere.
I never got there. We did Stratosphere.
I do think Tally said he went to New York one night.
Yeah, they were going to go.
New York's got a roller coaster on top of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is actually a roller coaster thing, whereas Stratosphere is the tower that's got the rides on the top of it. So.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. I'd like to go back. I love Vegas.
I know
Next
there
year,
are people
Flame.
that. Yeah, you should come.
A lot of money though, and I'm a gambler and a drinker.
There were drinks galore. Good lord.
And what about the developers and stuff? Were they accessible? Could you just approach them at any time, or were they kind of really segregated? I know they had their keynotes and stuff to do, but outside of that, were they approachable, or did they all keep to themselves, or were they really mingling with everybody?
Did they look down on you with the devs?
A lot of them did. That's because they're really, really tall.
Enormous.
They're just giants.
For DC, I would
great.
say they were very accessible, but we're kind of one of the smallest games there, if not the. So there weren't a lot of us to take up their time. So those that wanted to talk to them definitely had the chance.
They did get swamped after the panels. Everybody would kind of. You'd be able. I mean, they'd be walking down the corridors, and you'd be able to stop them, or sometimes they'd stop you and chat away to you. So that was really cool.
I was just going to mention about that video not the video, that picture that you guys had taken with Jens. It was like a screenshot from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And him being Willy Wonka and you the Oompa Loompas, because he's
the one
massive.
where he's like leaning over us.
Yeah, he's like 6'7" or something stupid.
I mean, that was crazy. It's like 2 foot taller than you.
You don't really notice because he's really tall, Captain Liberty's really tall, and Meps is really tall. So, you see them on streams and things, and you just don't realise how tall they all are because, they look pretty normal in comparison with each other.
And how do they respond? I mean, you got them some gifts. I don't know if anyone else brought them gifts as well, but it was like a street art painting you got them of Batman symbol across
I keep that actually. Should be able to get that up.
Across some kind of city landscape, and also Sir Mutton Chops arranged for the Tombot cuddly toy thing.
Yeah, I think they all really loved that, especially Jens. They all seemed to think it was really good. I don't know if there was many other people that got. I think Bumbling Bee did another painting for them.
Yes.
I think there might be one or two other things as well. I can't remember. But they all seemed really appreciative of it, and we've told them that we want the Tombot to be photobombing some of the streams, so look out for it in the background.
Because we hadn't physically seen, because it was made in America, and you guys brought it straight there. How did it look, and how did it feel? Was it the actual Tombot? I mean, I don't know how to describe
cool.
it. Was it well done?
Yeah, it was. There was loads of detail on it. It wasn't just like a ball with them two antennas sticking out of it. It actually had like the detailing of the grates and stuff on the Tombot, and there was they actually crocheted the electric sparks between the antenna and the face on the front of it, and it was quite hefty as well, and it was a lot bigger than I was expecting.
He told me it was a dodgeball in the middle, so I mean that kind of gives you like a rec ball that you use on the playground. So it was pretty massive. Like we were joking that we were gonna like try to hide it under somebody's shirt, but there was no way. Like no way it was gonna go under anybody's shirt. It was humongous.
Were the devs and Jens and Meps and that? Did you get the sense that people look at them as sort of like rock stars? That's massive celebrities while you was out there.
I don't know about rock stars. I think certainly famous people, but much more controversial than rock stars. There was definitely the people that are there I think nobody gave them any jip like face to face. I think everybody was. Everybody who makes the effort to go there is obviously, really enjoys the game and wants to actually meet these people and talk with them and stuff. Except maybe Terrible Theo. But everybody else, we just, you're having such a good time, and you really enjoy kind of meeting these people and just being at the event and things. But there is this kind of, there's constantly all this talk about, what's going on in the forums and all the criticisms that they get leveled at, and part of that was the Hindsight 2020 panel as well. They obviously get a lot of flack. They get a lot of people criticising them and making fun of them and getting horrible, nasty tweets and things. And I remember talking to Jens about our downfall video, which we did for Game Update 36, when all of the animation changes were happening, and it was obviously a comedy video. And he had to explain to her, no, it's actually just us being sarcastic. But she's quite defensive about it because, they get that a lot. They get a lot of criticism and stuff. So I wouldn't say rock stars, because rock stars, they tend to just have kind of fan followings, but maybe more along the lines of politicians. They have their supporters, but they have a lot of detractors as well.
Ah.
I guess they open it up to themselves, kind of. It's twofold. So they're so hands-on and so engaged, and they're willing to talk to anyone about anything as long as you present it in a manner worth discussing. That other people think that they can somehow approach them and be hostile and be rude, but without actually realizing, no, what you can do is provide your feedback in a constructive manner, and they'll discuss it with you.
Yeah, in a way, it's sort of an over-familiarity thing.
Yeah.
And it's because it's over the internet as well. I mean, the inhibitions that people lose over the internet, that kind of anonymity thing, which makes them think they can behave like total pricks. And I think sometimes makes them forget that these people are actually people, and this is a job that they're doing. It just makes So there's a lot of people who just behave like arseholes on the internet. But if they would meet them face to face, I think they wouldn't. Just to say to them,
I wouldn't dare disc Jens in front of his face. He'd probably just stomp on me. Just step on your head and squash you. So is this something that you're definitely thinking about going again now? It was a really positive experience for you guys.
Yes. I don't know that I'm going to go.
I was to say, for Tess, it's a much bigger ordeal. It's actually not that bad of a flight for me over. Not something I'd like to do multiple times a year, but yeah, I'd definitely like to go meet everybody again next year.
You
put our name out there.
It to anyone to go as well, anybody.
Yeah,
that loves
the actual
it.
event itself is actually really quite cheap. It's cheaper than I was expecting. Me and my friends have been trying to get down to London for the MCM Expo a couple of times a year. And meet up with some of you London people when we're down there, but that almost is as expensive as the entire trip to Vegas is.
Wow.
Because London is just so expensive.
It is.
So I was expecting Vegas. Yeah, I was expecting the living costs and everything in Vegas and the event itself. I was expecting that to kind of work out a bit more expensive, but as it was actually really quite cheap. So that whole kind of part of it is if you can get reasonable transport there, then it shouldn't take you too much money to actually do the event. And I highly recommend going. For us, it's the flight. It's just so much money to fly over there. So
how long was the flight for you, Tess?
I did it in a couple of different ways because I actually went to New York. Yeah, so I think if you fly direct, it's maybe about 9 hours, give or take. I don't know what airports actually do fly direct, but I ended up having, on my way home, which I did kind of come straight home as it were, I had a 4-hour flight to Philadelphia, and then I had a 12-hour wait in Philadelphia, and then I had an 8-hour flight to Glasgow, and then I had to get the train home from Glasgow. So I was travelling for about 26 hours or something to get home. It wasn't great fun, it has to be said.
Especially coming back by yourself as well.
Yeah.
You're like quite fearless, aren't you, really?
Well, I've travelled before. I've spent about 7 months travelling. Took a bit of a gap here after I finished uni. I was in New Zealand and Australia and Hong Kong, so...
How was the weather shock upon coming home?
It was something, yeah. The fact that I got in at 6 AM, it was bloody freezing, but it was quite good after being in the desert for so long. I don't know why it was so cold. It's August. It shouldn't be even in Scotland. It's not that cold in August, but apparently it was.
Can I just ask one last question, unless Rob's got anything else to ask as well? I just wanted to know, I've heard about this zombie party.
We didn't actually go.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I
thought that was going to be the highlight of the whole event, the party night.
It was a zombie prom party.
At the same time as the zombie pool party that was in a different location.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. There was 2 parties running at the same time. So there was probably a lot of split up of where people were actually going to be. That was the night that we decided to go to the Stratosphere, and we thought it would probably be a bit easier to get to the Stratosphere than it was. Turned out that although it was only 4 miles on the bus, it took about 40 minutes. So I can't speak properly. It took about 40 minutes to get there, because the bus stopped every 3 meters. And then the actual time to get up the Stratosphere and do the rides, and then we went for food afterwards, and then hop on another bus ride back. By the time we got back, both parties had just finished. So we'd kind of been hoping that we'd come back and just kind of pop into one of them, but there was no time to do that, unfortunately. But, I mean, the pool party from last year was quite infamous, I think, but it was just a bit awkward this year with the
It was meant to go
2 different parties.
And all the gossip, all the shenanigans
I know.
that went on.
I don't think there was
Brings
as many
nothing.
shenanigans this year.
I have seen some pictures and it looks pretty tame. I think people behaved themselves a little better this year.
It's
You're right,
definitely
I don't know.
Not being the same level of stories this year as there was last year.
So what do you reckon, Rob? This time next year, we can get a flight out together.
I would love to. It just, like Tess said, boils down to the money. It was like how much would you budget? £2,000?
I would say that for one person going, you could easily do it with for 1.5, and that's with the flights at the kind of the average price that they are now. The flights are about £1,000.
What's that, about €2,000?
About €2,000. It's about $1,800. That's
I've
just
just gone on to do a quick check. Pounds to dollars, 1,500 is coming up as $2,400.
Sorry, $1,000 is about £1,000 is about $1,800. But yeah, 1,500, $2,400. Yeah, for the whole trip.
I know one of the issues is going to be the flights, and the earlier that they can be booked, the cheaper they'll be. There's quite a few people that are asking for sooner, like knowing the dates of the event sooner to book flights.
Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of try to lean on them a little bit, see if they can get a week for us sooner. That way people can make the flight plans and more people can come out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been looking at the flight prices, and right now the flight prices seem like the same as they were when I booked my flight for this trip. So I don't know that we're getting that much of a reduction at the moment, but it might be time of year that you book it as well. So certainly knowing sooner would be better.
I know a bunch of the US folks saved money by rooming together, so there's that too. If a lot of folks wanted to come over, you could do one room for a couple people.
Cold Fusion's desperately trying to get into my room.
Yeah, Cold Fusion is planning on going next year, so it says.
We'll have to check the dates, check the times, check the prices.
I don't know if it'd be a good idea for you to go out there, Rob. I think it'd go to your head a bit. I think you'd like wear a crown or something when you turn up.
Oh no, I think it would be perfect, because if Tess goes again, she's going to get more fans than Rob is, so it'll be humbling.
I have a lot of fans, thank you very much.
One thing I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it is Christiana's costume.
Oh, that was
amazing.
amazing.
A monumental effort went into it.
and he could do the best Joker laughs since Mark Hamill.
Yeah, the voice made it
genuinely terrifying.
When I saw the pic of him, I mean, it is a really like fantastic Joker outfit, but I couldn't get Lorne out of Angel out of my head.
Yeah.
Lorne as well.
Oh, I didn't even I knew he was reminding me of someone, but yeah, that's what it is. It's all in the chin.
Yeah.
I guess that was last minute too. That's not the costume he was planning for this year, but he didn't get his done. So
he was going to go as Lex, weren't he? Lex Luthor in full power armor.
But he didn't get that done, and so this Joker was kind of last minute for him.
It's
just crazy. It was so good.
He got best funniest costume, I think, in the cosplay competition. He got himself an SSD from it, and that's the way to offset the cost of your trip, is to win one of these competitions, because we all know the PvP tournament is the £3,000 you get each for winning. I think Felsa and Mutton, who came third place, and congratulations to them on that. They got $500
each. Yeah, it's 500 each,
wow.
1,000 each, 1,500 each.
So that's going to offset the cost. The cosplay competition, Christiana he got the funniest costume, and that was a $300 SSD one from that. The person who won overall got an NVIDIA Titan graphics card.
What?
Yeah.
And she uses a laptop.
Yes.
Who did she go as?
She was a PlanetSide player.
Side.
She went as she got this kind of armored suit from PlanetSide. It looks really good.
I'd be limited for choices of costumes because I've got no hair. I shave my head. I'd have to go as Lex.
I mean, you're not allowed out, are you, Flame, unless you're wearing a bag over your head?
Yeah, this tag,
Scarecrow.
this electronic tag won't let me go further than 100 yards as well.
I think you probably do a good Lex.
After curfew.
They do randomizer stuff too.
Yeah, randomizer stuff. So it's kind of like a lucky dip type thing.
I think somebody got a Titan graphics card off of that as well.
Yeah, there's just ridiculous prices. So you can, I know that's not even including gambling. So you can make back some of the cost if you cosplay or are good in PvP.
Or good at gambling.
Yeah, so...
Tess has done a big write-up as well, and we've got pictures and stuff. We'll put those in the description below as well, so you can read about people's experiences and pictures and stuff.
You've got to see this pic of...
One more thing. Odyssey did a player panel.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you? Was it? So tell us what it was about, and did you find yourselves nervous or what?
It was called Advanced Raiding Tactics, and it was basically going over things you should be doing if you really want to be raiding at endgame. So it was mostly aimed at the people that obviously don't currently successfully raid at endgame, and it was, it was going over some of the issues that a lot of people, they get so fixed into what setup they're going to run with instead of running with what works for them. They have, oh no, we have to run with, 1 tank and 3 trollers, or we have to only have a solo healer, or, that kind of thing. So it was going over things like that. It was going over what you should be doing in the raids. Just kind of all the little tips and tricks we've got for helping people kind of with any issues that they might be having with the raids and stuff. It was an interesting experience. I've done talks and things before, but not hugely many, and I think this was maybe the one that I've done that I'm most comfortable talking about, so it's always good when you feel like you can just keep talking forever on a subject, and we had a timer thing set up so that we didn't go over time, because they do really keep you to quite strict timings. We had a panel after us. I think it was SJ's panel, that's Nerd of Prey, on telling stories in the DC universe, so we didn't have time to overrun or anything like that. But it was really good fun. Not hugely nerve-wracking. A little bit, but once you get going, it's fine.
Because the people you were talking to, the attendees, the names you've called out, are already people who raid at a high level anyway.
Yeah.
So, there wasn't much you could teach them, but I guess it was more about being part of a community and getting involved and at least, talking about the game and so on and so forth. And it was recorded.
Yeah, Trex has
gratefully
recorded
by
it,
Trex.
and we're going to try and get that up on our channel. It
Yeah.
might be up already by the time this goes live, but yeah, I mean the other thing is as well, the people that we were speaking to at SoE Live, most of them were the names that we recognised. There were other DC players there as well. I had spoke to a couple of them, just kind of chatting away with them and stuff. People that I'd never heard of before, and so yeah, there are obviously a lot of the high end players at the competition, but there are a lot of other ones as well. I mean, there was a family that was in the Legends PvP tournament that never PvP'd before. They play the game, but they'd never done Legends. So it was really cool to see them in the tournament. But it was just reminding us that the more vocal people at SoE Live are the people that are on the forums, that are more comfortable talking to the devs, that maybe already have that relationship with them, that they're quite happy to speak up. But there's quite a lot of other people there as well. So, I think the panel wasn't going to be useful for these endgame raiders, but I don't really think that any panel that any players did would have been. I don't think
Sure.
there's anything that we can teach these people about the game.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about that before you went away and stuff, and it was the mentality of just wanting to get involved and be part of the community rather than just, trying to preach or teach people anything because they already know a lot of the details. These are the people who are at the event itself.
Yeah.
Anything else to sum us up? Or should we finish there?
Never trust Felsa when he says he wants to go for a burger.
Never trust Felsa, period.
Damn it, Felsa.
Is that the story where you went for a burger and you ended up walking through the desert for hours?
Yes!
It
That's
wasn't
that story.
for hours.
It was far longer than it needed to be.
You
But
survived.
it's not like
Correct,
London,
right.
is it, where it's 2 minutes around the corner?
Don't even
It
get me
was
started.
it was your 2 minutes around the corner, yes.
But it's a story you'll always remember.
Yes, I will always remember our desert adventure. And I think that's what SoE Live is all about. I mean, it's just, you're going to be making memories and having a really good time and meeting people and making new friends. As I say, these people that we've seen about but never really spoken to.
Making babies and...
There was none of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chapels, though.
You were
I
desperately
wanted
trying to get
that.
me into those chapels.
No comment. And now everybody's awkwardly silent.
Anyway, guys, lovely chat we've had today. It's great to have you back, Farmer Bob and Tesseract. Thanks for joining us again today, guys. We hope you enjoy the show. And as always, any comments or feedback, please let us know. If you like the show, if you don't like the show, anything, even as we mentioned before, if you've got any player content that you'd like to link to us, any pictures that you've done, any questions or anything at all, please feel free to put them in the comments below the video. But I would just like to say thank you to Farmer Bob, Tesseract and Anher for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Been fun.
And that's a wrap.